Healthy You. I'm Kim Martin, host of your show. This is my awesome expert guest host today, Melissa.
An expert. Woo.
You are an expert.
I've had some dabbling in it for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, you've lost 60 pounds yourself.
Yep.
If you've lost 60 pounds and kept it off for how many years now?
4
years. I think that makes you somewhat of an expert.
I know.
Because you have to learn how to live a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yep.
And you have to know what you're doing really in order to do it yourself. I think that's the key. You got to become an expert in nutrition, an expert in exercise. You really have to kind of become that student.
Yeah, always have an open mind and never stop learning.
Yeah, and so that's what I love about this show.
I know.
That's what my goal is with this podcast, is to help inform you and educate you and give you those pieces of the puzzle in living a healthy lifestyle, because it is. We are students of it.
And still learn new things.
We learn new things every day. And in order to live a healthy lifestyle, you really need to become an expert. I think that's kind of a little revelation I just had.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't think we're an expert in something, and so we just forget about it. But if you want to live a healthy lifestyle, if you want to be good at that so that you can maintain a healthy weight or lose any weight that you need to lose, you really do need to become an expert in some of these things. So you are an expert. Not to mention you're a coach at Curves and the manager there, and so you've got a few classes under your belt, and coached quite a few women.
Yes,
and they've seen some results. So definitely an expert. Well, today's show, I love this topic.
Me too.
This is actually one of my favorite topics to teach about, and that's food labeling. And I tell you what, the people that are in marketing on food labels, they must make a lot of money.
Yes.
They must get paid a lot to design the labels of food and make it look so pretty and so intriguing and so healthy. Don't you find?
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about this when it's like, ooh, recycled paper. Looks very...
I don't know if you can see that
like
or not.
Organic kind of looking,
The paper's all like organic, and it's green and brown like grass.
Earthy.
Yeah. Oh, and it says Graze.
Yeah.
Don't you love the name? Graze.
They're so smart.
Veggie protein power.
Yes. They just pop those words out there to draw our eye in.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're good, and other times a little
9
deceiving.
grams of protein, 4 grams of fiber. Here's the issue. Okay, I'm going to just give you another close-up view of this. This is a beautiful package. They've done a great job to help us understand that it is probably healthy. You would get the idea that this was healthy if you saw that package. Am I right?
For sure, yeah. I see the word fiber and protein on there and vegetables. And like I said, the look of it is very earthy. You bet.
It almost makes me believe it. It almost makes me go organic.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Even though, so I think the marketing genius behind this was, how can we make this packet look organic? So that subliminally somebody's going to think organic, even though it's not organic.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's a trick too. Now, the problem lies, I should say, is that most of us, most consumers, don't go beyond this pretty front. We just see the green and brown. We see protein power. We see 4 grams of fiber. We see 9 grams of protein, and we go, oh, that's a healthy snack.
It's kind of like when you have something to read really quick and you skim it and you're looking for the important words, but you miss so much.
Yes,
yeah.
That's a great analogy. So I happened to pick these up, and I had them for a snack. And I, of course, go straight to the back label, okay, which is, I don't know if you can see that, but it's that tiny little writing.
Did you do it before or after you ate it?
No, I do it before. I've learned my lesson. And the first ingredient is an edamame bean. That's good because that tells me that's the most ingredient in this packet. Okay?
Yes, and so elaborate on that just a little bit. So the first ingredient has the most in the product.
That's right.
And it dwindles as you go down. Mm-hmm. So like sugar, if it's in like the top 3, you might want to find something else.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So that said, okay, that's not too bad. And then it's got some salt, spicy chickpeas, some canola oil, of course, chili powder, black powder, and it goes on down with the other nuts. And ultimately, it gets to the end. There is some sugar in this. Would you believe that there's sugar in this? Just looking at the package? Mm-hmm. No.
Because how do you have sugar in vegetables?
How do you have sugar in peas and beans and nuts? Mm-hmm. No. You would never think that there's sugar, but guess what? Now, it's near the end, but there is sugar in this.
And so if they had to list it, there was sugar added, not naturally derived sugar from it.
Yeah, no, they added sugar, but it is real sugar, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then juice powder, natural flavoring. It's not that bad. It was a quick snack that I needed. And ultimately, I come to the conclusion by reading this label that this little packet really wasn't that bad. Not the optimal thing I would eat, but it's not that bad.
Especially for an on-the-go snack.
For an on-the-go snack that I bought. It had 170 calories. It has 170 calories, so it's kind of pre-packaged, right? 170 calories. It has 4 grams of fiber, and the serving size is 1 container.
There you go.
That was important because how many times do you think you eat this whole thing and you're thinking, 170 calories, but then you look and you're like, that was 2 servings.
I know.
That happens all the time.
Oh, that happens all the time. And then you look at it and you're like, I only got that little bit for all those calories, especially after we do our workout and we know how many calories we burn after a workout and what it takes to burn that many calories.
So, food labels, that's what it's all about today. This is an important show, so keep watching and be sure to share it with your friends, invite them to watch, and because it's going to be very informative, I think. So we kind of just started with this pretty package because I think this is the prettiest one we have.
That's
and
a pretty good one.
They did a good job. I feel like writing this company a letter and saying, way to go. You even had me believing it was organic for a minute, except for I know it has to have the organic seal on it to really be organic. But they did a nice job with this package, and that's what they want to do. They want it to look healthy, appealing, and they want us to buy it, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, well, I'm just going to...
You're going to dive right in.
I'm going to dive right in. Jif. Okay, this is in every cupboard in America.
And Jif, Skippy, what are some of the other ones?
I'm not trying to pick on Jif, but just want to show you the real ingredients, where it's about educating.
Your standard run-of-the-mill peanut butter.
Your standard run-of-the-mill peanut butter, because everybody knows that peanut butter is healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
And so yummy. My daughter the other day says, Mom, I think you eat peanut butter every day. I said, pretty doggone close.
I go through a jar of peanut butter, but not, unfortunately, Jiffy.
Yes.
The peanut butter I eat is natural peanut butter, and we're going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to use this food label as an example for a few things. Now, trans fats. Let's talk trans fats for a minute. Mm-hmm. How many trans fats does the FDA recommend that you have, Melissa?
None.
Good answer. See, she is an expert. You're right.
But
0 grams of trans fats. Why? Do you know why?
Well, they're terrible for you. I mean, they clog your arteries, everything.
Your body, when they go in, they don't come out.
Yeah.
Your body cannot process trans fats, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what another word for trans fats would be?
Oh, gosh, what? Hydrogenated?
Yes.
There you go.
Hydrogenated oil. Okay, that's another word for trans fats. So what's happening is now the FDA says, our own FDA, right, says do not eat any trans fats. The recommendation is 0. Mm-hmm. And so the labels are picking that up left and right. And they're putting things on there that say 0 trans fats right on the front.
Yes.
And you think you're not eating any trans fats. Even fast food restaurants are saying we're not using trans fats anymore.
Yeah.
But there's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what it is?
Yes, I do.
Tell them.
So trans fats, it's still in there. Because even if they've like 0.99, but they weren't at the 1, they don't have to list it.
It's actually a half, but you're right.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. What you're saying is they get to round.
Yes.
Yeah. So what the FDA says, if it has less than 0.50, you can round to 0. So if there's less than a half a milligram of hydrogenated oils in a serving, then they can claim it to be 0 grams of trans fats. Sounds reasonable, except for how many trans fats are we supposed to have in a day?
0.
0. So, and how much peanut butter does the average family consume?
Well, especially during the school year,
yes.
You're going through a jar of this a week.
And Jiffy is probably one of the #1 brands. It's delicious. Jiffy, we give you that. It's so yummy, right? Mm-hmm. And look at this pretty label.
It has like 7 grams of protein.
7 grams of protein right there. It says non-GMO.
Ooh, and gluten-free.
And gluten-free. That's a big deal, right? Non-GMO, gluten-free, so red, bright colors, and it's one of the most popular brands. But let's take a closer look at the ingredients, okay? Now, here's my. I still hadn't figured this one out, Melissa. This is a good one. So we start with the ingredients, and it says made from roasted peanuts and sugar.
Oh, gosh.
It doesn't just say peanuts. Like, why doesn't it just say peanuts?
Why does it need to have sugar in it?
Why does it say made with? What does that mean exactly?
What else is peanut butter going to be made with?
I have
That's
no
a little
idea.
scary.
But it says made from roasted peanuts and sugar. So what's the second ingredient in this canister?
Sugar.
That's how we know, because it's listed in order, right? First ingredient has the most ingredients, second's the second most, third's the third most, and it goes on down the line. So we know that it's made with roasted peanuts. So assuming roasted peanuts is
so there's some peanuts in the peanut butter, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, sugar, okay? And then the third ingredient is molasses.
So sugar.
So it's sugar. Molasses is natural sugar, though.
Yes.
So we'll give them that. And then I'm going to kind of try to zoom in here again. I hope this is working out good. I'm not sure. You'll have to let me know. But I need you to see this label. The fourth ingredient, and hopefully you can see it. If not, you'll have to trust me.
Or get a look at the GIF when you're at the store.
Look at it yourself. Is fully hydrogenated vegetable oils.
Trans fat.
Which are trans fats. Okay? So
and that was what, the third ingredient?
Fourth. Well, they combined roasted peanuts and sugar together. So they kind of combined it together. And I don't know why, but that's how they did it. And then molasses. So it has sugar and molasses. And then fully hydrogenated vegetable oils. And soybean and mono and something I can't pronounce. And then salt is the last ingredient. So the point is not to pick on a certain brand. The point is to educate. You got to read the food label. You got to know. Now, if Jiffy were my favorite brand and I loved it, would I eat it sometimes? Probably, because I do. I eat a chocolate donut sometimes.
Oh yeah,
and
everything in moderation.
Hydrogenated oils in it, So I'm not going to act like I personally never put any of that in my body. But what I want is to educate, because if you're eating this type of peanut butter and other name brands too, not just this one, this type of peanut butter, and you're eating 2 tablespoons with your morning snack and 2 tablespoons with your afternoon snack, and you believe you're eating healthy. That's the thing. I just want you to know what you're putting in your mouth.
Oh, for sure. Especially if I look at, for me, I would think more of my kids.
Yes,
so I'm packing lunches during the school year, and you don't really put lunch meat too often in sandwiches because, you don't want to go bad, so peanut butter is safe. So they're having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich 5 days a week. And then sometimes they like peanut butter with their apples. So right there, they're at least getting 5 servings.
So they're getting
of hydrogenated oil.
5 grams of hydrogenated oils a week. So all this is about, and the reason why I wanted to do this show, and I think food labels is so important, is to educate and make sure that you understand what you're putting in. Know what you're eating. There are so many good natural peanut butter. So when we go back to saying peanut butter is good for you, it is, as long as the ingredients are peanuts. Natural peanut butter, peanuts and
Peanuts
salt.
and salt,
The
yep.
brand that I like has some salt in it because I like the salt.
Most of them do.
There are a lot that just have peanuts, and a lot of people will eat those, but I like personally having a little salt. But there are tons of brands out there. And I will say this, giving Jiffy some credit, because I don't want to just say it's this awful. It's just about what's in the food.
Yeah.
They have a natural brand, but I do want to say this. It has more ingredients than just peanuts and salt. But it is a much better option, which is what I give my kids because they love Jif. And so I give my kids Jiffy Natural. It is a much better option than this. It has no hydrogenated oils.
No, they use palm oil in the natural instead of
palm oil, and they have just molasses. Mm-hmm. It has 4 ingredients.
I think so.
4 ingredients, which is a much better option for our family. And so just wanted you to know that. You got to be careful, and it's just such a good example. I don't have an example with me, but we have to talk about Nutella. I have to talk about Nutella.
You mean frosting in a can, right?
Right. All across America, we are feeding our children Nutella. And I just need to clarify something. It's okay. We eat chocolate icing too, right?
Yeah.
So in moderation, sure. But if you are my daughter, Katie, dipping your strawberries in
That's
Nutella.
What Maddie does.
And eating 20 strawberries dipped in Nutella. So now she's had probably 3 or 4 tablespoons of Nutella. We got a problem.
Yeah.
And I wish I had a jar to show you, but you can look at your Nutella. I'm sure you have a jar of Nutella in your cabinet, so just pull it out and take a look at it. But guess what the number 1 ingredient is?
Hazelnut? No.
Hazelnut, one would think.
I think that's the last.
Since on the front of it, it touts itself as a hazelnut and cocoa spread. That's what it says.
I think hazelnut is the last ingredient.
It is. It says hazelnut and cocoa spread. That's what it says on the front of your Nutella. Take a look. But the number 1 ingredient is?
Sugar.
Sugar. And guess what the number 2 ingredient is?
Hydrogenated oil.
Not like that bad. But it is vegetable oil.
Yeah.
It is vegetable oil. So number 1, sugar. Number 2, vegetable oil. So that's the number 1 and number 2 ingredient. Then it has 3, 4, 5 other ingredients. And then it says cocoa. And guess what the last ingredient is?
Hazelnut.
Hazelnut. Isn't that awesome? So why doesn't it say sugar and vegetable oil spread?
Because you wouldn't sell it because hazelnuts are healthy because they're nuts.
But that should be against the law. If the number 1 and number 2 ingredient is sugar and vegetable oil, you should not be able to put on the outside of your label that it is a coconut and hazelnut spread. You should have to tell the truth. It should say sugar and vegetable oil spread.
And technically they do tell the truth, but in very small print.
I don't know.
They just rely on us not to flip it.
They rely on us not being smart enough to read the labels.
Yeah.
And understanding. And again, it comes back to moderation. So we compare it to chocolate icing. So know that if you eat Nutella, you're eating chocolate icing. And the reason why we compare it to chocolate icing is because guess what the number 1 ingredient in chocolate icing is?
Sugar.
And the number 2 ingredient?
Oil.
Oil. And it has all those other same things. It also has cocoa. Chocolate icing has cocoa in it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the hazelnuts to give it that hazelnut flavor. So really, it's chocolate icing with the hazelnut flavor. And it's delicious. And my daughter loves it. But I needed to just share that because, again,
Misleading.
it is just misleading. I guess that's a really good word. It's misleading. And we're not trying to say we're not ever going to eat those products. Some people do, some people don't. We're not telling you what to eat or not to eat. We're just talking about the facts, what's in the food label.
Yeah.
Right?
Just because the more you know.
The more you know.
Yep.
Knowledge is power.
You bet.
As long as you take action. I heard that. I just heard that yesterday. It's like everybody says knowledge is power. But knowledge really is only power with action.
It's what you do with it.
It's what you do with it, because you can know all this stuff, but if you don't start reading your food labels, then really it's not power.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I love these things. Triscuits.
And my kids are like, but Mom, what about these? I'm like, what about these?
I didn't really bring other crackers to compare. I I don't know why I didn't feel like buying them. They're quite expensive. I had these in my cabinet because I eat them. But I was actually going to buy wheat thins. Wheat thins, I wanted to buy those. But they were like $3 a box. And I already bought this can of Jiffy for like $3 for this show. So I'm like, I could spend a fortune buying labels, food labels I'm not going to eat. But these were in my cabinet. And so I thought I'd just kind of talk about wheat thins and compare it to Triscuits and what are our options, because we live in a society where we like crackers. We like cheese and crackers. We like snack food. We like chips and dip, right?
We like to eat.
We like to eat. Yeah, that's it. We just like to eat.
We like to eat.
Plain and simple. We like to eat. So what are some options that are good?
Yeah.
So tell them, Melissa, what are some things that are good about Triscuits? What's one of the first things you would notice about Triscuit if you read the food label?
If I read the food label, there's 3 ingredients.
3 ingredients.
And that's it. And I can pronounce everything in there.
You can see that, yes?
Yeah.
You can pronounce it. So those 3 ingredients are?
All right. We've got whole grain wheat, vegetable oil, and sea salt.
Yes.
That's it.
3 ingredients. So that's something I wanted to talk about when it comes to food labels. When you're looking at a food label, you're going to see, oh my gosh, food labels that have a list of ingredients this long, especially like in cereals, right? Those breakfast cereals and chips and lots of processed, even our protein bars.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
They're processed, and a protein bar here and there is okay, but again, we're rushing, we're in a hurry, we're grabbing.
It's good for you. It's a protein bar, right?
It's good for you. It's a protein bar, but it's processed, most of them. It's very difficult not to find a processed protein bar. And so we're eating too many. So maybe we're eating a protein bar in the morning and a protein bar in the afternoon. And
sometimes we have to do that, but for the most part, we want to eat as natural as we can.
And something that has as few ingredients as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So Triscuits is my cracker of choice.
They're pretty good.
They are very good. In fact, I've gotten so used to eating them that they're almost like a chip to me. Like I eat them with guacamole. Love it. I put cheese on it. I eat them with salsa.
Yeah.
How else do you eat your? Oh, hummus.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. But again, I love crackers. So then we got to flip the label for a different factor for the serving size, too.
Yes, serving size.
Because all of a sudden I'm like, yes, that was 6 crackers and half the box is gone, right?
Yes. So let's talk about that. And this is a good one to talk about serving size. So when you're reading the label, it is of the utmost importance that you make sure you see what the serving size is. Because when you look at the food label and it says, for example, you go, 120 calories. That's not 120 calories in the whole box, right? That's not 120 calories in the whole box. It's in the serving size.
Yeah.
And there's 3.5 grams of fat in the serving size, 160 milligrams of sodium, 20 grams of carbs, which all come from the wheat, 3 grams of fiber, 0 grams of sugar. There's actually even some protein.
Oh, nice.
3 grams of protein, but it's in the serving size. So the serving size of this, I know by heart, is 6 crackers.
Yeah. And that's not that many.
It's not, but they're like this big. They're like this big.
Oh, for sure. But if you sit down and mindless eating, you sit down late at night and you're just wanting a snack, you got to portion it out.
But if I eat 6 of these, this is one of my favorite afternoon snacks. 6 of these with 2 tablespoons of hummus. That's a lot, and it's very satisfying. And this is 120 calories in 6 Triscuits, and 2 tablespoons of my hummus that I buy is 80 calories. So that's 200 calories. So that's my snack size. I have a 200-calorie afternoon snack.
Yeah.
It's very filling.
Oh, yeah.
And so, so back to the wheat thins. If I had a box of wheat thins, if you have a box of wheat thins in your cabinet, most people do.
Yeah.
Because guess what? It's kind of like this pretty label here. It's like bright yellow. The wheat thin's like yellow. And, it's got the wheat growing out of the box.
We have them in our cabinet because my kids love them. And so we just try to do it in moderation. But I always put these in front of the wheat thins.
Because wheat thins have a list of ingredients about like this big, right? So highly processed.
Yeah.
And they're this big. You want to talk about not very filling. They're like these tiny little things.
Yeah.
And so, it's about what are you going to do with that?
For sure.
Yeah. And so what else on the food label? We talked about the serving size, very important. Sodium.
Oh, because that can creep up so quickly.
Sodium can really creep up. And if you have blood pressure issues, sodium is something you got to watch.
General public is recommended under 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. General public, not if you have any issues. And that happens fast. Like I bought this organic tomato basil soup the other day. And again, serving size was an issue. So it had 760 milligrams of sodium. But in that little box, that was 2 servings.
Oh, gosh.
So if I ate that little box, that was 1,500 milligrams of sodium just for my lunch.
But if you have a heart condition or you're on blood pressure medication, it's less than 1,000. Mm-hmm. Less than 1,000 milligrams.
Yeah.
So you really need to watch that. You've got to watch that, okay? So be sure to read the food labels. The other thing I have here, and I just... it's just an off-brand whey protein because a lot of us are having shakes these days.
Oh, yeah, right? Especially when it's hot out. That's a staple for me a lot of times in the mornings. Throw some fruit in my blender, some protein powder, or my kids in the mornings when they're out the door for school, my teenagers that I don't need breakfast, so I pass them a protein shake on their way out the door.
Which is awesome because so many kids don't get enough protein.
Yeah.
They have high carb diets. We're talking macaroni and cheese, pizza, cereal for breakfast, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the protein?
Yeah, the famous line in our house is, Mom, I have a granola bar. I'm like, well, here, take this.
I know.
I'm like, drink it while you're driving down the road.
And so we were talking last week, you and I were talking about artificial sweeteners.
Oh, yes.
And so I just, when it comes to our protein shakes and our protein bars, we got to be careful.
I think a big thing I see most commonly in protein shakes and protein bars is sugar alcohol.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that with some of our members. That can create some major digestive issues. It's so sweet because we want that milkshakey type thing. But, it can really kind of wreak some havoc, especially if you eat it a lot.
And some biochemists are actually saying that for some people, if you're extremely insulin sensitive, and if you take in sugar alcohols on an empty stomach, your body can actually have a response just like sugar.
Yeah, and
There's an argument out there about that.
Yeah, I would love to read that because a lot of the things with sugar alcohol, the first thing on the label, when we're talking about like the front part of it,
right,
it says low glycemic.
Of course. Low sugar.
So a lot of diabetics or people that are watching their sugar levels grab
those, and you got to be careful. This particular shake has sucralose in it. So, if you read the label, the good one is there's not a lot of ingredients in this, so that tells me it's decent, but it does have sucralose, and it's derived from sugar, but again, it is considered an artificial sweetener. So you got to be careful. And you got to read the labels.
Do the best you can.
Don't just trust the pretty package. Sometimes the pretty package may mean it's okay. But usually somebody has earned a lot of money marketing that package and making it look healthy because the retailers know, those manufacturers know that we are starting to be more aware of what we're consuming and what we're putting in our body, and healthy things are selling. So they want it to look healthy even when it might not be.
Definitely.
That's the gist of the show. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Melissa, thanks for joining me. You've been here welcome. 2 weeks in a row. That's awesome. And I'm so excited. Share this show. Join me again next Wednesday morning. Have an awesome day.
PeoriaLife.com